Hi, I'm Amanda and welcome to All Access Eats. Some of you may already know me as an actress, a filmmaker, and the daughter of Meatloaf, but what you might not know about me is that I have a passion for cooking, and I especially love cooking for my friends and family. See, I grew up traveling the world on tour with my dad, and some of my earliest childhood family meal memories come from those that we had backstage with Dad's band and crew. And some of my earliest culinary experiences come from learning to cook those comfort foods from chefs all around the world. So I'm here to share some of those stories and some of those recipes with all of you. You're probably wondering, what's up with the beads? Or you've already caught on that today's episode is all about New Orleans. No, I'm not going to talk about how I got these beads, but I am going to talk about my love for the Crescent City. NOLA is truly a magical place, filled with a rich history, brilliant culture, beautiful music, and some of the most amazing food on the planet. Louisiana's Creole people are a unique combination of West African, Caribbean, French, South Asian, and Native American. Because of this truly unique culture, the foods that they have passed down through the generations are truly exquisite. Of course, to get true Creole cooking, you're going to have to go to Louisiana yourself. But today, I'm going to show you my take on one of the quintessential Creole dishes, shrimp étouffée. Let's get started. So today, the recipe for shrimp étouffée that I'm going to show you is not exactly the classic étouffée, but I am going to use all the same flavors to create my own shrimp étouffée pasta, sometimes called Mardi Gras pasta. So this recipe, I'm going to start with a roux, as is tradition for shrimp étouffée. So that's 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to go ahead and let that melt down in my pan. So shrimp étouffée, the literal translation is smothered shrimp. So we're going to put all these lovely vegetables and make this lovely sauce and smother these shrimp. And this recipe is a little bit different than a traditional étouffée, and then I'm actually going to be making a pasta étouffée, sometimes called Mardi Gras pasta. So this is going to be a little bit thicker than your traditional étouffée. So next up, now that butter is nice and melted, I'm going to add equal amount of flour. So 4 tablespoons of butter, 4 tablespoons of flour. This is also where I diverge from the classic dish. So traditionally speaking, for an étouffée, you're going to make a really dark roux, sometimes called a brick roux or a chocolate roux, and it would be really deep, really dark in color. For this, because I'm making a pasta sauce, I want it to be a little bit thicker, so I'm going to stop cooking the roux at about peanut butter caramel level. The lighter the roux, the more it's going to act as a thickener. The darker the roux, the more flavor it's going to have. So I want something in between. So this does take time, it does take patience. I'm going to give my cameraman a little break here. Never stop stirring it, never take your eyes off it, because the one thing you don't want to have happen is you really don't want to burn your roux. And if you stop stirring, you will. So I'm going to stay here, I'm going to keep stirring, and you'll come back in about 10 minutes. So here it is. Here is my peanut butter caramel roux, smelling really nutty, looking really pretty. You'll also know that the flour is fully cooked when all those bubbles and those pops stop happening. Be very careful though, because this is extraordinarily hot. I myself have a scar from a roux burn that has never gone away. I think roux burns are the mark of great chefs, at least southern ones. All right, so to this roux, I am going to gently go ahead and start adding our veggies. And this is going to break the roux a bit. So you're going to see the flour and the butter as these cold things kind of come in. And finally the celery. So in traditional European French cooking, your mirepoix, or your base for most of your foods, is going to be onions, celery, and carrots. In Creole cooking, it's going to be the Holy Trinity. So the onions and the celery stays the same, but instead of carrots, we use bell peppers. So that's what I just added. It's onions, celery, and some really pretty yellow and orange bell peppers. Of course, you can use red or green if you like. You know me, I just like to add all the different colors. So I'm going to cook these down until they are soft and translucent. So a few minutes. So everything that I've done so far is still pretty traditional other than the color of the roux. I have not yet veered from what would be considered an authentic Creole étouffée. So now that all my vegetables are nice and soft, I'm going to add 5 whole garlic cloves. And then I'm also going to add, so this is my homemade Old Bay seasoning. And I will put all the measurements, but pretty much it is equal parts paprika, thyme, oregano, onion powder, garlic powder, celery seed, and MSG. So I'm just going to stir all of this in and just cook for about 2 or 3 more minutes until everything is really nice and fragrant. How's that smelling? Ooh, that's good. The great thing about making your own Old Bay seasoning or your own Creole seasoning is that you can really control what flavors you like. So if you like more garlic, more onion, do it yourself. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and add 1 diced tomato and a tablespoon of Worcestershire. And as you can see too, as I kept cooking, the roux kept cooking, but it's staying nice and thick as I add those vegetables. All right, next up are liquids. Now I'm going to slowly add in 1 cup of chicken broth. So this is where we do diverge from a traditional étouffée. I'm not adding nearly as much liquid as you normally would. Normally you would add about twice that amount of liquid. But I want to keep this nice and thick so it sticks to my pasta. And for the final added liquid, again, this is where I diverge big time, probably from a traditional étouffée. I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of evaporated milk. This is also going to help to really thicken this up. You can use heavy cream if you want. I find that evaporated milk just adds a nicer, thicker consistency and texture than heavy whipping cream. I'm going to give this a little bit of a taste because I have a feeling it probably needs a little bit more salt. I lost my spoon. So yeah, anyone from Louisiana, from New Orleans, anyone that's familiar with Creole cooking is going to tell me that this is not étouffée similar. It is étouffée adjacent. But those flavors are there, and that's what's important. You really don't want to skimp on those spices. All those spices that I listed and I'll have available in my video description, those are the most important. All right, so now I'm going to turn the heat down way, way low. I don't want this to boil. I just want it to be on a very low, very light simmer because we're not cooking anything anymore. We're just getting all these flavors to come together, to have a party, get to know each other, be friends. All right, because that's what New Orleans is all about, right? Making new friends, having a party. So I'm going to go ahead and start boiling my pasta while this comes together, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. So now that this sauce has been sitting for a minute, the flavors have come together real nice, I'm sure, nice and thick. Almost has the thickness of like probably Alfredos that you're familiar with. Although that's another episode we can do one day. Real Alfredo. But I'm not talking about Alfredo right now. Let's give this a taste. Beautiful. It's nice and smoky. Lots of different flavors coming from all those herbs and spices that I added. Sweetness of the bell pepper is in there. So now I'm going to add the shrimp. When I'm not using fresh shrimp, which you certainly can. I use this, and you can find it. It's my favorite. They're super jumbo. They're really nice and meaty, but still tender. And you can actually find this in the freezer section at Trader Joe's. So I'm just going to dump all these shrimp on in here. Make sure that they are nicely smothered by all this sauce. There we go. And I've turned the heat up just a little bit. I had it on the lowest setting. Now I've got it on like a medium low, just to bring that heat up a bit while the shrimp cooks. I'm going to put the lid back on the pan and let these shrimp cook for about 10 minutes while I boil my pasta. All right, let's see. It smells real good. Yep, and you can see with the Argentinian pink shrimp, you can see that it's fully cooked once the shrimp curls and they're no longer straight. Because unlike other shrimp, they don't turn color as they cook. But that looks perfect. I'm super excited. And so here is my pasta. You can use any pasta you like because this is such a thick and hearty sauce with lots of ingredients. I'm using tagliatelle. It's an egg pasta. It's thick, it's a wide noodle, so it can really hold up with this. And also, if you're serving a big crowd and you make a big giant pot of pasta, you can toss that right into the sauce and stir everything up. Because I'm just making enough for me and my boyfriend tonight, and I want to save the sauce for later on, and I don't want mushy pasta, I'm just going to top my pasta with my étouffée sauce. So excited. This looks amazing. It smells. I wish you guys could smell this. So awesome. All right. Now, because it's pasta, all pasta needs cheese, right? So I'm going to go ahead and grate some fresh Parmesan right on top. Whatever you do, please do not buy pre-grated or pre-shredded Parmesan. When that's made, they put a coating on it to keep it from sticking back together, and it really takes away the flavor of freshly grated Parmesan. Like from here, I can really smell all that nuttiness and good flavors of Parmesan. And finally, as is tradition with an étouffée, I'm going to also top it with just some fresh green onions. How pretty does that look? Super excited. I don't have a fork. Thank you much. All right, let's take a bite. I want to get a good little bite of pasta. This is amazing. This is a Mardi Gras party in a bowl right here. All of these awesome flavors. You got the spices, a little bit of acid from that Worcestershire, sweetness of the shrimp, bell peppers, the onions, nuttiness from the Parmesan and the roux, and just a little bit of fresh crispness from that green onion that we finished it with. This is such a great dish. Reminds me of New Orleans. Makes me want to go out and party. So serve this up at your next party, and your friends are going to love it. Thank you so much for watching this episode of All Access Eats. Please subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think in the comments, and tune in next time for more recipes and stories from the road.